Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Villalobos and with my partner Felipe Catril, we are going to talk about the history of language in Canada.
Canada, also known as the Great White North, is much more than just ice hockey and maple syrup. It's the second largest country in the world, just before Russia. It borders the United States to the south and the US state of Alaska to the northwest. It's also next to the Pacific, Arctic, and Atlantic Oceans. Its population consists of 38 million people. Its capital city is Ottawa, but its largest city is Toronto. And in this presentation, we're going to explain why is Canada both Anglophone and Francophone.
But first, we have to talk about Canada's origins. By 16,000 years ago, the glacial melt allowed people to move by land south and east out of Beringia and into Canada. For many thousands of years, this region was populated by only indigenous tribes, until the Norse Vikings came and built a settlement in Newfoundland around 1000 AD. According to available evidence, the Norse settlers and the Inuit, which were an indigenous tribe from this region, initially fought each other but then established a regular trade relationship. As you can see in these pictures, those settlements there are called Lands Omedos and were the settlements that the Norse Vikings used. These settlements were soon abandoned.
Here is a graphic that shows the quantity of languages that existed in Canada. And as you can see in the picture, there were more than 28 indigenous languages. All of them changed with the appearance of different European cultures. Nearly 500 years later, a battalion explorer named Giovanni Caboto, known in English as John Cabot, was the first European to explore North America's coast. In May of 1497, and with the support of the English King Henry VII, Caboto sailed west from Bristol on a ship called the Matthew, in the hope of finding a route to Asia. On 24th June, he sighted land and called it Newfound Land. He believed it was Asia and claimed it for England. To mark the celebration of the 500th anniversary of Cabot's expedition, both the Canadian and British governments elected Cape Bonavista in Newfoundland as representing Cabot's first landing site. However, alternative locations have also been proposed. He claimed it for the English crown shortly after the Spanish and the Portuguese will do the same, but this place remained uncolonized for several decades until the French arrived.
Jacques Cartier, a French Breton maritime explorer, claimed the land for France in 1534. Cartier was the first European to describe and map the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the shores of the St. Lawrence River. The name Canada likely comes from the Huron-Iroquois word Canada, meaning village or settlement. In 1535, two Aboriginal youths told the French about the route to Canada, while they were actually referring to the village of Stadacona, the site of the present-day city of Quebec. Many crowns had their eyes upon Canada, and after several wars between the crowns and the indigenous tribes, Canada finally became a bilingual country. Now we are going to mention some of the most important conflicts in Canada's history.
The Beaver Wars. Starting in 1640, the Iroquois Confederacy, a confederation of five Iroquois speaking American Indian tribes, began a campaign which they fought other American Indian groups, including those in the Ohio Country, for their lands and territories in order to gain access to their fur and wood benefits. The Seven Years' War. The Seven Years' War was a global conflict. I don't know. The Seven Years' War was a global conflict which ran from 1756 until 1763 and pitted a coalition of Great Britain and its allies against a coalition of France and its allies. The war escalated from a regional conflict between Great Britain and France in North America. known today as the French and Indian War. The outcome of the war was one of the most significant developments in a century of Anglo-French conflict, with Britain gaining control over Canada and Florida.
The Battle of Quebec. The Battle of Quebec, which lasted from 1774 to 1776, occurred as part of a failed American attempt to invade Canada and rally French-Canadian support for the Patriot movement against the British. Due to Quebec's strong fortifications, most American forces were forced to retreat before entering the city limits. The War of 1812. The War of 1812 between American and British lasted from 1812 to 1815. It is one of the largest and most pivotal wars in American history. The United States declared war on Britain in response to the impressment of American seamen, wherein they were forced to work for the British Navy, and the economic blockades imposed on France by the British. The war ended with the exchange of ratifications of the Treaty of Ghent.
According to the Office of the Commissioner of Official Languages in Canada, and to these percentages, we can notice the supremacy that English and French languages have on the Canadian population, despite of many indigenous languages. This is the result of years and years of interaction and mixing between the newcomers and the indigenous people, the same as the large amount of colonies that were in this beautiful country.
The Canada's Day. It celebrates the anniversary of Canadian Confederation, which occurred on July 1st of 1867, with the passing of the British North America Act in 1867, where the four separate colonies of Upper Canada, Lower Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick were united into a single dominion within the British Empire called Canada.
Most communities across the country will host organized celebrations for Canada's Day, typically outdoor public events such as parades, carnivals, festivals, barbecues, air and maritime shows, and fireworks. However, the focus of the celebrations is the national capital, Ottawa, where large concerts and cultural displays are held in the Parliament Hill, in an event largely referred to as the Noon Show.
Canada, as a country, has two official languages, as my partner Felipe just explained a few minutes ago: English and French. So we can safely say that bilingualism is one of Canada's core. Values of inclusiveness and diversity can be seen amongst them. Canadians have recognized that diversity is a strength that has encouraged openness towards other people. Canada is a more welcoming country for immigrants and refugees from different cultures and ethnic backgrounds. The impact of this can be seen in some places like Quebec, in which the most spoken language is French rather than English.
This also impacted in the way Canadian people live because not just their English accent, but their entire culture is influenced by the large amount of diversity in the country. This is the main reason why Canadian people are often considered peaceful and very kind.
So we can conclude that Canada is the perfect example of a society that has managed to rebuild itself democratically and effectively, because even having a lot of violent conflicts in its history, today it remains as one of the most advanced countries in almost all aspects, being the 10th largest economy in the world and ranked as the number one as the most desirable place to live in the world.
So, for the next time you hear about Canada, not just think about hockey and Justin Bieber. Rather, in thinking an immense country with a bittersweet history, in which foreign languages were imposed on many indigenous tribes that struggles to survive and maintain their culture and language. Thanks for your attention.